So is it a problem of the consumers, Singaporeans, not understanding that, times have changed and all?
Yes, I blame it on the consumers.
Blame it on the consumers.
I blame it on the customers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say it very outright. We do our best to keep prices low, but if you want us to survive, we have to raise prices.
Okay.
And you being educated, you being, you have a higher quality of life now, you cannot expect to pay 60 cents for a cup of kopi o kosong in the central business district area. You just cannot.
Would you believe that we are now more than 20 episodes into this first season of our other podcast, Tell You First, where Terence and I dive into fascinating topics in history, pop culture, and science that you never knew you needed to know, all with a touch of comedy. Yes, we have another podcast. And while we have covered lots of topics, our upcoming episodes will go to deeper and darker places, like about life during the Japanese occupation, imagining Singapore without Lee Kuan Yew, and even how Taylor Swiftonomics changed Singapore forever. So give it a listen by searching for Tell You First on the Me Listen app, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a rating or comment on Spotify to give us direct feedback about the show, what you like about it, and what topics you would like us to cover. Because if there are many suggestions, we might even get a season 2. So please let us know what you think. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
So, over the past year or so, we've spoken a lot about this one topic.
Yes.
And the topic is about hawkers.
Yeah.
Hawker culture.
Yeah.
Like just how you summarize your sentiments towards hawker culture in Singapore.
Heritage. That needs to be preserved.
To be preserved.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way too. I think a lot of Singaporeans feel the same way. But the one thing we have never had when we talk about hawker issues is a hawker, him or herself.
Correct.
So that's why today we are very pleased to have a third generation kopi hawker with us to school us on the whole topic. And I'd like to welcome Faye Sai.
Thank you, guys.
What's up, Faye?
Very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Talk about all things hawker.
Yeah.
I see you're wearing a t-shirt that is actually of your brand, right?
I am.
Your coffee brand. And what is it called?
We are called Coffee Break. It's very simple.
And where is the store?
Our first store is at Amoy Street Food Centre. We're on the second floor. Corner store, very obvious, can't miss us.
Okay.
And then we opened our second in Market Street Food Centre. Also on the second floor of the hawker centre lah. That's run by Jack, my brother. And then our third store opened about 3 weeks ago at Holland Drive.
Okay.
Holland Drive, not Holland V, Holland Drive.
Holland Drive. Okay.
Block 44.
Yes. So in the heartland lah.
In the heartlands, yes. But there's also Fusionopolis, but all on the other side of the Green Corridor.
I see.
Yeah, so we made the news actually for that bidding on that store. Yeah, so go and see that.
You made the news because?
Because we bid the second highest in bidding history and the highest in Holland Drive's history.
I see.
Which was, I mean, since it's in the news, I'm guessing the amount is public.
$7,000. Yes, so very, very high.
Okay. I guess we can dissect that.
Yeah, so many questions about that.
Right. Many questions. But the reason you're here is more, we want to find out more about what is it like, the realities on the ground of being a hawker in Singapore. Because there's stuff that we read in the news, there's stuff we hear parliamentarians talk about. But your perspective on the ground as a hawker, I think that will be very unique. Not many people know second or even third generation hawkers, right?
Yeah.
How much do you know anyone who is in the hawker business?
I know one person, but I mean, he sells beer.
Oh, that's different. Not really hawker.
Not something that my parents. Yeah, Terence, why like that?
No, I'm just saying, but I mean, alcohol, it is a big part of the coffee shop experience, right?
Yeah, but maybe we grew up with beer in a different form at coffee shops.
Like when I think hawker center, I'm thinking like what lunch, what I eat for lunch, or I can have a kopi for lunch.
You can have beer for lunch? What do you think? I don't think he's open during the day. I think he opens at night.
He opens towards late evening. But that's something that is interesting because you talk about growing up, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about things you're familiar or you will associate with hawker food. And beer or like what's this handcrafted beer is not your list.
Yeah, correct.
But mala wasn't in the hawker centers either. What?
Oh.
And now at every coffee shop, you kind of look for a mala store.
Yeah.
You know, or like for personally, a lot of my customers, their go-to drink is no longer a kopi o kosong. They come to my store every day, they buy a sea salt caramel latte. Yeah, so, you know.
It evolves.
It evolves,
so your background, you're a third generation hawker. Maybe you can walk us through like what exactly that means and how you got into the hawker business itself.
Okay, so third generation means the coffee business, the hawker business has handed down from my grandfather, so that will make him first generation. Also because he sailed the seas from Hainan Island and then he came to Singapore.
Yeah.
And then he had my dad, and then my dad took over the business. So my dad is second generation. So then my siblings and I, we are third generation because we took over from my dad.
Yeah.
So that makes us third generation hawkers in the kopi business. Same kopi business.
When did your grandfather start the stall?
Officially on it's 1935.
Holy.
So this year would be our 90th year in the coffee business.
Oh my
Was it called Coffee Break?
No lah.
That's why I was like, wow, that's very forward thinking.
Wow, very modern.
No. When he opened the coffee shop, it was called San Hai Yuan.
Wow,
so it's my dad's name, Asan. Hai is my uncle's name.
Okay.
Ahai. And then Yuan is just kind of like, you know, like a garden.
Okay.
So that's why it's called San Hai Yuan, which is what we've registered in our official business.
Private limited lah.
Yeah, it's like SHY. So it's called Shy Coffee. So that is forward looking. Coffee Break is like a brand.
I see.
Yeah.
And where was the store?
Telok Blanc. Oh no, not Telok Blanc. East Reclamation Road. So that's where the Keppel Wharfs now they are. Yes. And then that's where a lot of the Hainanese used to stay as well. Before they all got moved and got en-blocked and Keppel Wharfs came up and all that.
So your growing up must have been very intertwined with the hawker, like given your dad was a hawker.
Yeah, my brother-in-law's father is a Hainanese curry rice hawker.
Okay.
They're retired. I'm trying to steal their recipe, so
I see.
I can come full circle.
So did you grow up knowing that you would want to enter?
No,
never.
But what was it like growing up with your family as a hawker business and all?
I remember running around the hawker center. Before the hawker center was the coffee shop. Running around, listening to my uncles and my grandfather take order, manage the business, stealing drinks from the dispenser. Now still have or not? Dispenser.
Which kind of dispenser?
Like Coke, Coke, Sprite.
Oh, you press and all,
you press.
Oh, not in hawker centers, I think.
I thought in school, in school used to do
or like
that.
fast food restaurants.
Fast food restaurants.
So that was when I was still very young. Then in my teens.
You were doing the stealing of the drinks.
Yes, of course.
I thought you meant your grandfather or father running around stealing drinks. I was like, what?
They can do it in the open. We had to
I see.
Most of my teenage years was spent at Amoy Street Food Centre.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, because your dad had already relocated there.
Yes.
I see.
And then weekends we will help out, then run around and help. And then I grew up with the hawkers there.
But how did it feel? Like, did you feel different from your classmates and your friends because of, your parents were hawkers or anything?
No. I don't think there was ever a feeling of segregation or of being, I don't know, maybe lower income. Never maybe I was a bit ignorant I don't know. I was just this young kid
But not saying about the income side of things, but just that it's a profession where a lot of time is dedicated to running a hawker business and just understanding what hawker centers are to Singaporeans, which are it provides food for a lot of people. Was there something that was special, or it felt different from your friends, or your friends were like, oh wow, your dad's a hawker?
Perhaps maybe in junior college.
Okay.
Maybe that's when it started, because holidays I would still go and help out. And then I realized that a lot of the JC kids, they would talk about like what they do on their weekends, and then my weekends were spent helping my dad at the store, and like there was no chance of like going out and stuff like that.
But how did they react to that? Was it like, oh, poor thing, or like, that's damn cool?
They were like, huh? What is a hawker? Yeah. And I was like, in the hawker centers, they're like, what is a hawker center?
Oh, really?
Yeah. A lot
You're
of
that disconnected.
in my JC time.
Oh, wow.
What, serious? Because
Yeah.
they never ate at hawker centers?
Maybe their best was just food courts in the air-conditioned malls.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
But I mean, I talking about that low income thing, but at the same time, over the years when I was growing up, I also heard that there were hawkers who, drive Mercedes, buy landed properties and all that as well.
They all do. I'll tell you out, they do. They do. They do stay in landed property and they do drive expensive cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a
It's
generation
true.
of hawkers who really made money from the profession, right?
Yeah, to them that is making money, making it big, to be able to drive a comfortable car.
Yeah.
So, like chase the Singaporean dream.
But obviously, a lot of things have changed, because I think now, unfortunately, just as an outsider, it seems damn hard to run a hawker stall. It's almost not the most. It's taken for granted, which we can dive into again, going down. But before we get there, like when you were working those weekends helping your dad in the stall, did any part of you think like, "What, this is something I never want to be part of? I'm helping my dad because he's still running it, but I have my own path to chart lah."
It's going to make me sound like I didn't really have a plan for myself, like for my own future, but I never thought about my future much. And when I did decide finally to take over my dad, it never felt like a step back, I guess. Because I went through JC, primary school, secondary school, JC, and then university. It wasn't a local U lah, but I have my degree and all, and it didn't feel like the hawker center was to be frowned upon, taking over. And I always saw it as a very viable career, just like any other career. You could be an investment banker, you could be an accountant, and I looked at it the same way, lor. There would be a career development. There would be I can have a family like my dad did. Can pay for a house. I can get married. I can buy a car, have children. All on a hawker's salary. And I guess the hawkers with Mercedes and BMs made me also see like, why? Yeah, okay.
But did you work anywhere else after you graduated? Or?
Yes, after university, I actually spent about 2 years as a national athlete, and at the same time working for the Volleyball Association of Singapore. So I was a beach volleyball player.
Okay.
So I spent 2 years doing sports events for them.
I see.
Yeah. And then after that, I spent a year as a part-time barista. So like the Ang Mo Kopi.
Ang Mo Kopi.
Oh, okay.
So espresso shots and all that. Yeah.
Then did your dad say, Faye, what are you doing? Learning this other art. This is how we make coffee.
On the contrary, he was the one who was like, go and see other things first before you come back to this business, so you can see what is outside offering before you bring it back and do more for this little local kopi business that we have.
So before you went for the barista thing, you had already decided that okay, you want to take over your father's business. And what led you to that decision?
Okay, so when I was 19 and I didn't do so well for my A's, I actually took a gap year lah. And in that gap year, I helped my dad full time. But the first couple of months, it was really a total shit show. I was crying and screaming at him, and he was screaming back at me because, so much lingo I didn't know. Yeah. And then like at one time I left him, I was like, I don't do this already lah. Then I just zao that afternoon just before a lunch slam. And then of course my heart cannot take it lah, because his knees are not very good, and then he has to handle a lunch slam himself. So of course begrudgingly I went back lah after 15 minutes of crying. But then after that it got better, because I told myself, if I don't do this and suffer like that with my dad, then who would? Because he's not going to be able to find a helper that can take his bad temper lah. And it got better from there, because then I started shouting back at him and then telling him I can do this better than you. And by the end of the year, I decided, Pa, I can do this. Let me take over lah. I can do a lot more for the business. He's like, no, go and take your degree first. Go and get that piece of paper. During my time, it was very fashionable. You must get that piece of paper. So I did lah. And everything that I studied in school was kind of inclined towards the business. So I did business management. Yeah. And a specialization in marketing. So I did that. And then I went off for a year after university to play volleyball, work in the association, do specialty coffee, volunteered in the World Barista Championships, went all the way to Melbourne to learn and see what it's like out there. Then I came back lah. Yeah.
So it was really your own decision.
Yeah.
And everything lah.
Yeah.
But I understand your brother is also involved in the business as well?
My older brother, Jack, and my twin sister, Anna, we kind of pulled her in after that.
I see. But was it as easy a decision for them as well?
Jack was more because he couldn't take the red tape in
bureaucracy.
Yeah, the bureaucracy.
Okay.
He was training to become a teacher. And he actually finished his first couple of months of on-the-job teaching before you go to school again in NIE. And then before he went to school, he was like, cannot lah, sorry lah. If I'm going to make an impact in people's lives, it's not true teaching. I mean, no offense to the teachers out there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he just wasn't his calling lah, if anything. Okay.
So before that, he was in mass comm, so he was doing writing for like magazines and stuff like that. And then he took over. He started full time before I did because I was still out, in Melbourne or something. And for Anna, she was a childcare teacher.
Okay.
She was one for about 4 years, and then her bond ended, and she was in limbo for a while. And she helped out when we were younger lah. All three of us did. So I was like, hey, why don't you join us full time since you nothing to do now? And she was like, she hated the business. She wasn't the outgoing kind, and she had very bad experience with my dad as well. So we offered her, when we offered her, we were like, you will be working with us, and then, it'll still be fun, we'll make decisions together. But then, of course, that's not true. So we bullied her most of the time, but she's still here with us.
Okay.
And not real bullying.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you guys look very concerned.
No.
We're still in this together. And then she joined us. And
so that happened like how many years ago?
We've taken over for about 10 years now.
10 years.
She joined us about 2-3 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now, there's more talk or more attention given to younger generations that are taking over hawker stalls, right? But 10 years ago, I don't recall it being that way. And, we all live in a country like Singapore where it's very competitive, where even when we decided to go into media, I think like extended families all like, what are you doing, But was that ever a concern for you, or was there also a part that you feel you need to preserve the business that has already lasted 2 generations?
I don't think preserving the hawker culture or preserving the tradition was ever on our minds when we took over. It was purely business. Like it made money. If we did this ourselves, we can all drive Mercedes. And that was why all three of us jumped in.
I see.
It was only of late with the recent media coverage, the UNESCO listing, and then I don't know why suddenly become very hyped up.
Sure. Yeah.
That suddenly it was like, you have this responsibility to preserve the local kopi brewing tradition, and we're like, ho.
It's great marketing, right? It's great marketing.
Yeah, it is. And we were lucky to be like kind of at the forefront when all this started gaining traction.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so we just kind of got swept up in it.
Okay.
But it made money then. It still does.
Yeah.
And that's why we're still here.
I mean, it's very interesting to be hearing this because everything we've read about and heard is that, the next generation doesn't want to take over the hawkers. There's no future in being a hawker. People can't take the long hours or the backbreaking work that comes with it.
The median age is 60.
Median age is 60. But here we are talking to someone who's like
30-ish.
Yeah, 30-ish, doesn't want to, it's about, it's just dollars and cents. It makes money. And it wasn't even like, you were being forced to take over. You just wanted to, even roped in your siblings who were a bit unwilling and all that. So that goes completely counter to everything we're reading so far. So how do you feel when you hear all these things that, what people are saying about
I think they're interviewing the wrong people.
They're selecting
they are selecting stories. With young, fresh hawkers, like any fresh grad, you go into I'll put this back to you lah. When you decided you wanted to go into media,
sure,
quit your full-time job, what was everybody's reaction?
Why?
Crazy.
Crazy.
Got money, man.
We still get the question, how you make money?
Yeah, how you make money?
Yeah.
Where the money come from? Your hours not long, man. You need to sit in front of the computer every day, edit, do.
Yeah.
You know, and then all you do is edit and subtitle. And then people say that the same of hawkers lah. All you do is open the shutters every day, then you make kopi for the same people.
Yeah.
And after that you close, and then you go back, sleep a while, and then you come back and do the same thing. Same what? If you're an accountant, you also go to take the train to CBD, turn on your laptop, do a few numbers, go for lunch, tea break, and then after that come back home, sleep a few hours, then you also do the same thing, what? So how is the hawker industry not any different? We all have our ups and downs, we all have our struggles. You start out in any career, it's going to be an uphill battle, what? You're trying to establish yourself in the company. Maybe after a few years, you want to climb the corporate ladder. You need to learn to do more things, take more responsibility, spend a bit more time building your career. Maybe don't have a social life. Then when you do finally get married, find the one, then you start having kids. It's the same for us. We had that bout of struggle.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing there is maybe, are you disgruntled that people have this perception that hawker work is low-skilled labor?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's entirely untrue. It's not low, it's easy to pick up.
It's easy.
If you do something every day, it's going to become muscle memory, right? You're adjusting a mic and you'll be like, okay, if you give me a mic, I'll probably break it in like 2 seconds. But once you get the hang of things, it becomes high skilled. And we've been doing this for 10, 15 over years. How am I not more skilled than your Michelin star chef? You know, I've been doing this repetitively for like 10 years. I know what I'm doing. That sleight of hand with the sugar, with the coffee, will change the taste of your coffee. So it may start out low skilled, but once you do it repetitively, it becomes high skilled. And then it's not any different from any industry at all. Yeah, it's just how it is being portrayed. Unglamorous, low educated, little money, long hours. At the start, of course, in your career, you also need to build up your own name, right? You should spend hours, I don't know,
talking into a mic.
Talking to a mic. I don't know.
Listening.
No, I mean, so like, then what about the thing that it feels like it is a real problem about the sustenance of hawkers, keeping the prices low? Those are real challenges, I assume. Or is there more nuance to that also?
I think we need to understand why there's that inherent pairing that hawker food must be cheap and affordable. Okay. In the past, people turn to hawkers because it's roadside. Okay. And you just kind of like hop in, grab, stand and eat and zao. Okay, there's no tables, no chairs. Okay, last time in the 1918s when there was still food vendors on the streets. So cheap, because you don't need to do anything, you just eat, pay, and then you go. But now you have hawker centers, comfortable places to sit, eat, and then you have people you have old hawkers who have done this work for so long, and they are moved from the streets. Their rent and everything. So there's different schemes. Old hawkers who move from the streets to hawker centers, they get subsidized rates. So then they can always charge you very cheap, very affordable, 60 cents 1 cup of kopi o kosong. Now in this, you're raising your eyebrows because you're like, still have. Have. So 60 cents can. But then you have people like me who have 3 stalls now. And I run it with my siblings. And I hire a lot of young people. So I have high overhead costs. And I didn't move from the streets. I bid from the government. And in doing so, I have a higher rent than the uncle and auntie who move from the streets. So then I cannot. Affordability in the CBD is different from affordability in the heartlands. 60 cents is cheap in the heartlands. 60 cents in the CBD,
impossible.
It's too cheap. Too cheap that it's scary. Then you'd be like, is it going to be good? Should I buy? Is this like Longga water kind of thing? So it's very much perception, location as well.
So is it a problem of the consumers, Singaporeans, not understanding that times have changed and all.
Yes, I blame it on the consumers.
Blame it on the consumers.
I blame it on the customers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say it very outright. We do our best to keep prices low, but if you want us to survive, we have to raise prices.
Okay.
And you being educated, you being you have a higher quality of life now. You cannot expect to pay 60 cents for a cup of kopi o kosong in the central business district area. You just cannot.
But at the same time, just because I did look at, say, like the UNESCO inscription of hawker culture and all that, part of it, I think, if I'm not wrong, verbatim, the language involves it being not say affordable, but everyone can eat there,
Yes.
right? So by definition, if you want everyone to eat there, means all demographics, rich or poor, can eat the same place.
For sure.
So it's kind of defined as such. We sort of put it in a box already where hawkers' food kind of needs to be affordable for the masses, right? Then doesn't that run counter to what you are saying of like that there needs to be different levels of like affordability even for hawker food,
So with affordability is subjective. Whether to the rich billionaire or to maybe the struggling cleaner who also wants his or her cup of coffee every day. So why should you, to the billionaire, maybe he would think 190 is like peanuts, no problem. And if he wants to pay more, he can. But he can also choose to drink cheaper coffee and pay 60 cents. And then he really be like, oh, it's really cheap. But for the struggling cleaner auntie, our uncle, 60 cents may be expensive to them.
Yeah.
So what is affordable to her is 60 cents plus hawkers, we give discount, right? So like, maybe you become like, at 190, we'll usually just charge them $1 lah. So affordability in a hawker center is very perceptive. It's really based on your perception. Yeah, you don't want to pay $1.90, then you buy somewhere else lah.
So, but just now you're saying... So, sorry.
It caters to everybody, ma.
Okay, but you're saying that in your opinion, okay, the consumers have a big part to play in understanding these dynamics.
Yes.
But what about the structural things, or are there any structural things that are causing the prices to be impossible to keep low, like it needs to rise? Because we hear a lot of things which has been debated in Parliament, the impact of rent. On one hand, we hear certain MPs saying that, oh, actually rent has not crept up that much. You have these anomalies, but generally they're quite low. But then online, you hear a lot of people saying, of course, rents will be increasing. And then we get this mix-up that we were talking about before the podcast about, the private coffee shops and hawkers. And this whole ecosystem is a lot more complicated than it seems at the surface. So do you think there's part of the structural issues that in some way are also responsible for consumers feeling this way? I
think definitely. I think also, how to put this into words? It's become a little bit, if you look at it from, I try and be as layman as possible, okay? You have Singapore and then you have hawker centers. And then from hawker centers, you actually you have Singapore and then you have coffee shops. That's where coffee shops came first.
Like because the private coffee shop?
Yes. Okay. Like my own grandfather's coffee shop when we started. So he wasn't a hawker before. So he had his own coffee shop first. Then they started moving street vendors into hawker centers. Then you have hawker centers. So unfortunately, people see coffee shops and hawker centers as kind of the same, mainly because of the crowd it serves and also because of the price point, right? Like $4, $5 fishball noodles in a hawker center, you can also find in a coffee shop, mainly because they're heartlands, they're situated in the heartlands. But what has happened is Singapore has developed so fast from a third world to a first world, that I think what the government couldn't do was to control so many hawkers in different establishments. So what has happened is the coffee shops have become privatized. And then so it's like free for all lah. But what the government still can control is the hawker centers. One, because they built the hawker centers. They started building them to house the street vendors. So they have more control who can go in, who can sell what, and how much to sell in hawker centers. That's why. But unfortunately, because of the food options that we are exposed to, we're like, oh, okay, same what. Yeah, so the government would be kind of looking after both, right? But that's not true. Private coffee shops are private coffee shops. Their rents can go as high as $10,000 a month. But that's impossible. Not possible in any hawker centers. Okay. So recently you had that Marine Parade, $10,000, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever follow up with that? Did you see if they started operating?
No.
Because they didn't.
Yeah. They're just holding on to the...
Correct. So what you need to know is, what Singaporeans or what anyone is reading the social media or news need to know is, yes, you have that flash of $10,000 rent, $7,000 rent. But what you don't know is behind all this, right, we have our own reasons for it. Why she bid 10K, why we bid 7K. Yeah. Because we see opportunities and we have our own reasons that the media doesn't report.
Are there your reasons for bidding that, like what you said for the 7K and all? Is there something you can share? Or?
Yeah, for sure. We are young.
Okay.
We are 3 young siblings running a 3rd generation hawker store, kopi store. Very easy to replicate. Okay, your listeners probably be like, oh, okay, kopi very easy. I can just like franchise and all. Yes, but we don't want to because we're very particular about quality. So when we decided on Holland Drive, we went down to observe. There's corporate crowd. There's also heartland crowd. And for us, 7,000 for 3 years, because every contract you sign with NEA is 3 years. Can we sustain 3 years,
based on the current crowd?
Based on 7,000 and serving the current crowd. Yes. And this is not a short sight. It's not just for now. What about when the train from Johor runs through? With the west side would be very happening. So for us as educated hawkers, we bid 7,000 because we know we see 10 years, 20 years there. Not because we very fashionable to bid high. Don't be an idiot lah.
I see.
So that's why we bid what we bid. For the lady at Marine Parade, she wanted something for her son.
Yeah.
And that's why, and she knows that there's competition in Marine Parade for stalls because Marine Parade, right next to it is the MRT exit.
Yeah.
And it's just open and all. So it's going to be better and hotter. So many private housing there. She knows. She's been there herself for how long selling drinks. Yeah. So she knows. And that's why we bid high. And that's why we charge high. Because we have other things to consider. Compare that to the uncle and auntie who just want to, out of retirement, they just want something to do. Then they just take it slow, lor. And they really just make your coffee slowly. Maybe you enjoy watching him stir the tea, and then like
because their break even is also a lot lower.
Yes, they reach there faster than us. And so they don't need to hurry already. They'll be like, it's okay lah. You want kopi or kosong lah? Slowly give you 60 cents. But for us, we want to do more.
Sure.
They don't need to do more already. They don't want.
Then what, actually, because you talked about it earlier, then what's stopping you from opening up more of those Western style cafes where you can really charge a premium and, nobody's going to question your $8 lattes or anything like that, right? Whereas because you're situated in a hawker center now where people have this perception of it needs to be affordable and low cost, that's where sometimes, they get, hey, why you charge so high? You shouldn't be here. You go outside and play go and bid for a cafe or what, right?
I can say the same thing to you.
Which is?
You don't want to drink, then you buy from someone else lah. Why you copy so much? My competitor behind sell 110, you go there lah. Don't talk so much.
Do you ever say that to customers?
I've never said that to a customer lah.
You just play them this podcast in future.
No, but we have had uncles and aunties who come up like, 快久啊 kopi 又 kosong 欸 kosong kopi 黑了咧 没有糖欸 like, because the standard is black coffee, no milk, no sugar, should be very, very cheap because there's very few ingredients in there that would jack up the price.
Yeah.
So most hawker centers or most kopi stores would serve black cheapest, then kopi more expensive, then kopi C most expensive. But for us, it's across the board, it's 190. Yeah. So then they'll be like, 这样贵啊？为什么那么贵？ Why so expensive? And we very gently tell them, uncle, 你可以去后面买，后面还有。There are still other shops behind. And yeah,
but then,
you ask me, I ask you back.
But then but for yourself as a business, isn't it? It's not nice that every day your existence is questioned, right? So why don't you want to like not upscale the business to something that's more atas, such that people will willingly pay for it?
Because I don't need to earn that much of a profit. I don't need to upscale. I don't need to change. I can, but I don't. Doesn't need to be elevated. My business model is not to elevate kopi. It's to make sure that it's still accessible. But if you are willing to pay a slight premium for a quality cup of coffee that we serve, then yeah, here's your choice. But if you don't, then that's fine as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But sounds like there is an element of your passion for kopi. Is that
for sure.
For sure. And
I think all hawkers have a passion for their trade.
And what is it about kopi that gives you that passion?
The taste.
The taste?
I don't think it's kopi per se. I think it's customer service.
Okay.
I get quite a kick being at the store, serving my customers, having them come and tell me, oh, hey, this coffee was what I really needed to kickstart my day. Or, I had a bad weekend, and then, Monday is the only thing I look forward to is to come to your store and buy your coffee. I think it has always been from my dad's time. I think that's the way he kind of taught us, like, it's not just about the product alone. It's actually about, serving your customers, being there every day, saying you will open and you are open, So we're open Monday to Fridays, 7:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon, rain or shine, you can come down. And I think that's what the hawker culture is about. Why we are listed on UNESCO is not just merely about affordability. It's about the culture, which is being there for your customer. Sometimes, I know it sounds very cliche, but people really do appreciate the fact that they don't need to open their mouth to order, They come in and they wave, and we know their order. And they be like, wow. Or some of my staff, they correct the customers also. They come in like, oh, can I have my kopi o siew dai? Then they look at him, they'll be like, I thought you drink kosong. Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, okay. My friend texted me, he's like, hey, your staff remember my order. Then I'm very impressed. I'm like, oh, I'm glad, because this is their job. And if they like what they do, then and you appreciate it, then that's all we really need.
Do you all give the striker or menu treatment to customers?
We do
that. You do.
Wait, what's that?
Sometimes you order from the auntie or uncle, they will, hey, striker, which is handsome boy, or menu, like pretty girl, what do you want?
It helps that you are looking at us, all dressed up, and then you make us feel like we have something to see lah. Sometimes looking down, making the black color liquid can get quite monotonous.
So when you look up and you see someone quite well dressed, you're like, it's a nice change.
Yeah, it is. And you're like, you banter with us. It's always a nice thing to have, and that's what hawker culture is about.
So I mean, you speak of it like very positively, and sounds like you're saying that as a business itself, it's viable, right? So then, do you think the government or the way it's set up gets unnecessary or unfair flack?
No, I think any flack that they get, they deserve. What the government is not doing well enough is getting feedback from the ground. And I think we all lament our policy maker up there. They're not in our shoes. They don't know. And while they do hold a lot of discussions with, hawker people who are, so we have hawker associations. In most hawker centers, they're represented by a hawker association. And the head of the hawker association is usually the person who usually has been around in the hawker center the longest, knows the hawkers inside out, knows the center itself, how it's run structurally or socially. And NEA, so the agency that governs us, would come and get these we call them hawker chairmans to sit and then discuss issues and stuff. But every time I go for something like that, sometimes it doesn't feel like they are listening. It's like they already have a solution or an idea of how they want to do it, but it's not like they really. And then when they finally roll out a new measure, it's wegam. Yeah, you cannot have a one size fits all kind of measure. I understand, but sometimes I do feel like listening a little bit more, and then translating that into a policy that actually works.
Yeah.
Would reflect much better on them.
But what's in your opinion, I mean, there are probably a lot, but what's the biggest gap between a policy and what is actually happening on the ground right now?
Say, for example, the recent measure in hiring long-term visit pass holders. That's definitely great because now we can... They will be kind of like foreigners because they are not PR at all. Yeah. And in the past, hawkers were not allowed to hire non-PRs, non-Singaporeans. And now we can, but we must hire long-term visit pass. But I think what the government doesn't realize is a lot of these long-term visit pass holders, they may not also want to work in a hawker center. Simply because... And I've experienced this because I've interviewed a few LTVP holders. Yep. They also want their choice. They want to be able to look after their children. That's why they're here, because they are dependent on their spouses. The spouses are working. Then they have their own children here. They would need to look after them. So a lot of times, I also don't manage to hire any long-term visit pass holders. And then that's something I think maybe the government didn't realize. That, yes, they're foreigners. And maybe they just suka. Okay, I think in terms of foreigners, the LTVP holders maybe can lah. We just try and appease the public. But yeah, they have their own agenda. They also don't really want to work in a hawker store.
You're saying it's because they have to take care of kids.
Usually yes, and they want very flexible hours. They're like, I need to pick my kid up at 1, 2 o'clock when it's in the thick of my lunch slam. Yeah, and I'm like, cannot.
So then, there was another thing that they mentioned in Parliament about how there's a risk of, changing the social fabric of hawkers if you get too many foreigners in. What do you think of that?
I don't deny there is a risk, for sure. But I also throw it back to you again. Last time got mala, meh? But now mala are very common.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are Chinese, but they bring something that, has become very part of Singapore's food culture already.
Yeah.
And again, kopi. I sell kopi, but I also sell sea salt caramel, kopi, hazelnut, teh, teh si kosong. And like Singapore, we are a melting pot. So is the hawker culture. So you want us to be like forever stuck in olden day Singaporean, right? Cannot be, right? We will always be injecting new cultures that we call Singapore. Yeah.
But no one has come up and told you why you sell sea salt caramel?
No leh.
No.
Actually, the auntie uncles, when they start, they usually buy their kopi Cs and stuff. And then they'll come back and be like, hey, xiao mei today I want to try your black sesame, because black sesame is still very traditional Chinese dessert. So like, this zima hu, because it's usually a Chinese paste dessert. This zima hu can put inside the kopi. Then we're like, yeah, can I don't want so sweet, but I want milk. Can or not? You do or not? They say, yeah, I make a black sesame kopi si kosong for you lo. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, usually don't like the zima hu. Now I like the kopi, so why not? So it becomes accepted both ways. And then you got the young people who were always buying the sea salt caramel kopis and be like, hey, I really have no money this week. Is there something that I can buy that tastes just as good? I'm like, yeah, you just buy a kopi si kosong lah. From a $4.50 drink drop to a $1.90 drink. Still very sustainable.
Yeah.
So it works both ways.
So going back to what you're saying about the gap, right? Has that gap narrowed or gotten bigger over the years between the policy makers and the hawkers on the ground?
I think definitely narrowed. Maybe with my involvement, I think I see the government making an effort for sure. And I see private agencies or not-for-profit agencies coming up to help the government see where they are lacking and then to kind of connect all hawkers with the government and to make our voices heard. And with social media and everything, putting hawkers in the spotlight, good, bad, that's what gets the government's attention. And definitely the gap has narrowed for sure.
But do you think like a reality TV show where for 1 month every MP runs a hawker stall of their own
could be good?
Could be good. Then they can come up with their own dishes.
It's true. It is. I definitely
you would totally support
watch
that.
I will watch it.
It's like Singapore's culinary class wars, except this is parliamentary hawker. Parliamentary hawker.
I mean, you hear the last sitting where each MP came up, and then before they gave their refutes, they would say things like, "Oh, my parents were hawkers." Leong Man Wai. And then like, I know of a hawker, or like, and stuff like that. And okay, good lah. Then let's everybody try it, trash it out. Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong. You don't think that hawker culture will ever die out? Right. Because your definition of hawker culture is quite different from, like people on the ground saying hawker center needs to be affordable, all that. But for you, it can evolve, it should evolve, and if people should pay more, we'll pay more. And so it will go on, it can go on in all these like challenges with cost and all that notwithstanding, hawker culture can survive.
It will always be a cycle. And I case in point, I'm young.
Yeah,
I'm like 30-something, young 30-something. I'm a hawker. I've been a hawker 10 years. I'm trying to do my best, expand the business a little bit, get this traditional local kopi brewing kind of idea out there. But 20 years later, I'll be 50. I will still come back to my little store and open the shutters every day and serve whatever customer that wants to buy my kopi. And I can do so at a lower price point, simply because I don't need to make money out of it. I just want to wow my retirement days. And then you have the older hawker, and then you get new hawkers who will become like me. And then they'll try, and then they'll work their guts off, and then they themselves will become 50 years old.
But basically, you see the hawker center still being around in 20, 40 years.
For sure.
And what gives you that conviction? Because everything you see, right, in Singapore, everything's getting so expensive, it's getting more globalized. A hawker center is single story, you can demolish it, build a mall. But that you have enough conviction that it will be around like forever.
The conviction comes from the fact that we have fellow Singaporeans who, while complain a lot, are still very much, we depend on them and they depend on us. So we depend on their business, they depend on us, hawkers, to provide affordable meals. Because at the end of the day, there's only so many restaurants you can eat at until you feel like it's burning a hole in my pocket. Because comparatively, we are really so much cheaper, so much more affordable. We are your daily go-to. And as a country, right, you grow with the country, right? You're Singaporean, right?
Yeah.
You went to school here, you started working, and then you met your wife, and then you got married and you have kids. But do you realize in the background is your hawker center always there for you? Yeah. So that's the same for your children or for your children's children. In fact, I'm serving my dad's customers' children now. And they are bringing their children to come and see me, and call me auntie. So as long as Singapore is standing as a nation and we're always building the nation, the hawker center, the hawker culture, the hawkers will be there to support. And today someone might be an accountant, tomorrow they might quit their job to become a hawker. Yeah. We don't need sudden pushes. We don't need like, this needs to be done. You need to do this and make a drastic change. No, because there's always the option for people to come in to the hawker trade, because barriers to entry are so low. And you try your hand, you can try to make a lot of money, or you don't want, you just want to sell 500 bowls a day. That's fine also, just to make ends meet.
But then recently we covered this one topic where among school canteens, it was getting unsustainable for the store owners to, break even and all that. And the solution was to get like that centralized kitchen thing. And on the podcast, I was reminiscing. I'm like, oh shit, I tried nasi lemak for the first time at a school, and will my daughter get a chance? And as much as I grew up with that in my life, don't know whether my daughter will. So, but sounds like for you, hawker is too big an anchor in society for it to be eroded away. Or what if it's replaced by centralized kitchen food? So it's still there as a food option. People can afford it because the costs are low, but then it changes what a hawker is, right? Or you think that might be possibly what a hawker looks like in future?
At Amoy Street, out of 135 food stalls, I can tell you actually you have about 10 to 15 who operate with a central kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that? Yeah.
No, I did not know.
And does that affect, your choice? Like you go to the Majik, maybe the Majik actually has a few stalls and then they come from a central kitchen. But because it's fronted by a Majik, so you'd be like, oh, okay, legit home cooking. But actually, she has a central kitchen somewhere in Bedok.
So the key is you need a makcik or an uncle or an auntie to front it.
The key is it will always be more about the relationship rather than the food that you are served.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, does that kind of sum up the gist of what the hawker culture is like, the relationship? Because it seems like you value that a lot.
I do.
Is that like the main gist of hawker culture to you?
I think that's why, like you said, it anchors the hawker center, hawker culture as as being the anchor of one of Singapore's anchors, and that's why we will be around for forever.
But do you see like what you're saying about now? 10 years ago there are no mala stores, but now every hawker center has at least one or two mala places. Do you see that as a threat to what hawker culture is? The fact that there are even not say foreign influences they are foreign influences at play here. Big powerful countries exporting their culture and taking over a traditional, say, satay bihun store or something like that. Do you see that as a bad thing?
Do you know that Hainanese chicken rice in Hainan Island is not the same here in Singapore? Did you?
No. I never had the traditional one.
So, and with this, what I would like to demonstrate is when you bring something that could be foreign, like I think you hear of Albanian hawkers, I think at Beauty World, and then you have Turkish food like kebabs.
Yeah.
Eventually, they become part of the food culture in Singapore. And then who's to say these people don't become Singaporeans or PRs and eventually citizens, and then it becomes Singapore, like part of Singapore. We might have our 4, 5, 6
Chinese, Malay, Indian.
How many do we have?
4.
Yeah. Who's to say we won't include more? We're always evolving.
Yeah.
And to resist that evolution is just very futile. Yeah. In fact, if they come in and they want to be hawkers and they inject more variety and they attract more diners, why not? That would kind of, definitely sustain us more.
Sorry, just to follow up. Then so when you see a story of an old hawker who has some recipe for either Hokkien mee or satay bihun that he wants to hand down the store to his children, they don't want to. He tries to go through that. I think there's a scheme, right, to pair young hawkers with older people. He tries to go through the scheme, and nobody takes it up and takes over the store and all that. Whose fault is that, you think, that this dish or this recipe sort of disappears forever?
Nobody's fault.
Nobody's fault.
If the dish disappears, it's actually, it will always be in your memory. Like, you hear your parents saying like, "What, this is the authentic taste."
Yeah.
And then in a couple of years, all the signboards say authentic or like olden day, old school taste. But who can really say what is old school taste? It's subjective. Yeah. So maybe the Hokkien mee recipe could be gone and we lose that taste. But we also gain new taste from new recipes that could be similar to the uncle's Hokkien mee, but it's not the uncle's Hokkien mee. And then when maybe when our parents pass on, this to us is authentic, and then to your children is what they know.
So it's like a living, breathing organism, hawker culture.
It is.
So then, like I'm so glad that you feel that it's here to stay, right? But does that also mean that the only way for it to stay is if the government is involved? Because like let's say Amoy, right? Just across the road, I'm guessing the rental per square foot for a cafe is insanely crazy. So like and you have faith that the government being intertwined with hawkers will continue to be that way? And have you heard, or do you feel like sometimes, like with increasing a number of like public companies, like let's say transport, it was privatized. The Kallang Stadium was privatized and then taken back. Do you see that hawker centers might go down that path where they also become privatized and then the government's involvement gets less involved? It's tougher to regulate the prices and then everything just catches up to restaurant prices.
I think maybe because of public pressure, and with UNESCO listing and all, the onus is on the government to always have a hand or always be involved in what goes for hawker centers and hawkers, and their involvement is very impactful. And one big example is the clear your table campaign, clear your tray campaign. To be honest, when I was growing up, right, I cleared my own table. Like there was never leaving it on the table for others to clear for you. I don't know, leh. Did you?
I left it.
You left it, huh? No, leh. I was always told to clear my own table.
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe because I'm a hawker background.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, it wasn't this bad until recently. Then the government had to step in, and unfortunately, when the government stepped in, then people started clearing their own tables. But it was actually always supposed to be just a social, kind of like a social responsibility. I mean, we were taught to clean up after ourselves, and that didn't work in schools or in your homes where your parents tell you to do these things. Then the government steps in now. And it makes so much difference.
It was effective, right?
It was. Yeah.
But
and unfortunately, it needs to be done, no?
But then they criticize Singapore as being, draconian laws, forcing people to be fined.
You look inside yourself as a Singaporean, huh? If they didn't do it, would you have? It's your own doing, guys.
but now we're discussing. I remember last time this might sound naive, but last time I used to think, if I do go and clear up my own trays or that, then the old uncle and auntie pushing the cart will no longer have a job anymore. Have you heard that?
I have.
You have, right? Yeah. So
who teach you one?
Society. So I'm saying, I also am happy that that law was passed where you have to clear your own trays. But at the same time, I also don't blame Singaporeans entirely for having certain kinds of behavior, because that was really we've heard the argument before, and maybe if we're not as
morally upright.
Morally upright, correct.
Enlightened
morally inferior, morally inferior.
We're not as enlightened, right? So I get that, but just thinking about everything that you're saying and all that, right? If you were the Minister of Community, Culture and Youth, and you could do one thing immediately to alleviate pain for a lot of hawkers, what's the first thing that you would want to do?
Wow, I've never been posed this question.
Well, that's great. What would you do?
I would put it in our textbooks.
Put hawker centers in our textbooks.
The hawker culture in our textbooks. We call it culture for a reason, right? Because it's from before and then you grew up with it.
Yeah.
So why not educate from young?
Yeah.
What hawker culture means to us as a society, as a country, and make sure that they know this is part of the Singaporean identity, the Singaporean culture. And I mean, some people might, draconian or propaganda, but with a little bit of education, and you can see the government making an effort with the Children's Museum, they have a hawker theme there. Right. Why not?
But you're saying it shouldn't even just be a children's museum, like it
Of
should
course,
be.
yeah.
Because I went to Korea, I saw the hanyos, those female divers.
The oysters.
Yeah, they go and dig oysters. They're all in the 80s or now. And when they became a UNESCO intangible culture thing, then the museum was built, and then everyone started to see them as a national resource and not a treasure, right? Which I don't feel that in Singapore with hawker centers. We still, as people, we still take them for granted, right? That they'll be there and they'll always serve low-cost food. But we never, not even celebrate, but we don't glorify a lot of what they do, which can be a very big tourist attraction, just like how they have done so in Korea with the Hanyu and all. So, yeah, I do like, to me, it's like, if there was money for a Founders Memorial, there should be money for a hawker center museum, if anything.
I will bring it up to Annie. Thanks, Terence. Now quote you. I think one thing also because it's so much a big part of our everyday lives that to glorify it might make it inaccessible or make it, putting it on a pedestal could be like, oh shit, oh.
Really?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
So it still needs to...
It needs to still be down to earth.
Down to earth.
Yeah, you can have museums and all. And we are tourist attractions now. I think we're... Coffee Break, we're in a couple of guidebooks and all, And sometimes these things, they take their own form and evolve, and then they become internet sensations. And I think that's what is also good, because sometimes you don't want to be told by a higher authority that you must go and see this tourist attraction if you are in Singapore.
Yeah.
Like, after a while, you'll be like, oh, do we really need to go and see the hanyos, If we see them, then it'll be quite cool and fun. If we see them like floating along Jeju, but... Yeah.
But then don't you think that putting it in school textbooks, like, the Speak Good English campaign, right? Growing up, it's like, hey, fuck lah, okay? I'm going to speak all the Singlish I want. I'm not... Then could there be a adverse effect? Like, well, I really don't care about this hawker thing. Stop
propaganda.
Confirm will have one.
Propaganda.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But you want that.
I want that. I think it's great.
Okay.
That's what makes us Singaporean.
As in you think there will still be a net benefit, that there will be more people who will be like, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Then the haters will just spend like $8 on latte.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. So it generates income both ways.
So I mean, it sounds like, like what Terence said, talking to you is very different from what I would imagine, like, everything a hawker advocate is made out to be in media. Because they're all like very angry, like, there's a lot of anger online. So do you think that that's almost destructive to the conversation, and there's a lot of things that people are not getting and missing from the conversation to the point it becomes detrimental?
Definitely. I think you hit the jackpot. Like, it's a lot very angry.
And you think it's unconstructive?
Too much of I don't want to say a good thing, but too much of the same thing. Yeah. It kind of it implants this notion in the general public, and then after that, every time they see a new news on a hawker, they'll be like, oh, yes, they're talking about the same thing, high rents and unsustainable, and then it just becomes offhand. You just kind of like swat it aside, and then you just don't think about it anymore.
So then what angle, like, let's say, okay, now you have stepped down from head minister for MCCY and you are head editor for one of the mainstream media publications, and your goal is to cover the hawker culture in a way that is constructive to educate. How would you change the narrative? Because everything that we hear now, at least for me, is like, it's damn hard being a hawker. The people who are going to hawker, it's almost you're choosing passion over livelihood and practicality, and it's damn sad.
Hawker culture's going to die.
You go there like 4 a.m, you open your shutters and you prepare stuff, and like you look at it, you're like, oh, that's damn sad. But what you are saying is that it's a viable business. It's exciting.
It's a future.
It's very vibrant, which is very different from what we hear in the media. All these documentaries, like, I mean, we watch some videos of you also opening the shutter at 5 a.m.
It's the money shot usually. Or the boring, the salary.
The hard work, the sweat and all. But you don't hear that about other, like, let's say the startup scene in Singapore. And so many startups burn to the ground and not even profitable, but that's damn sexy, So what do you think the narrative should be? No more open the shutter shot. Like
Can lah.
it.
No, next time it's automated shutters. So don't know how that's going to pan out. I feel like, I don't know, okay, I'm going to sound a bit propaganda, but if you go through MeWatch, they actually have very decent documentaries and series about hawkers. Recently, about silver hawkers. So hawkers who are like 80, 90 years old, doing what they do. And I feel, now that you know, Harsh, you brought it up, I feel it's a very good angle to kind of go into the hawker topic, you know, and instead of like starting up what is so hard as a young hawker, maybe you see those who have been here and doing this all their lives and why they're still doing it. Then maybe you can retrace their steps, and then you'll understand why the young hawkers are doing what they do now. So yeah, these different angled stories, maybe from an older hawker's perspective, or from a perspective where it is a livelihood, but we're not trying to be like billionaires. We just want to, maybe we're really content with doing what we do every day. I have 3 stalls, and maybe you think I'm rolling in cash or something like that. But the fact is, I have 3 stalls. I run it with my siblings, and I hire staff. So my goal is to continue being a hawker, but not at the expense of not being able to watch my daughter grow. You know, so I trade off certain things. We don't make a lot of money. Maybe you see us, we're not at the store all the time. Faye's always not at her store. She always, she got so much money. Hire so many staff, she don't need to do the work. Yeah, but I really don't want to do the work now because I have a different priority. And once she's grown up and all, I will come back to the store and do what I need to do. Be a hawker. So yeah, you might want to come from that perspective as well, because everybody goes through life, different stages. We all have different priorities in different stages of our lives. So now I'm not there, I just hire a lot of people to work.
I mean, when you hear people say, I want to be a digital nomad and, do my own side hustle, people are like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the moment you say you want to become hawker or even media, right? You're like, huh, really? But, going back to like the government's involvement, what do you think of the website like, Budget Go Where, which was a search engine where you can find the cheapest meals in your vicinity? I mean, when we covered it, we shared our sentiments. I think it was fucking stupid. But this is from a person who is not a hawker. But for someone who is, steeped in that, what do you make of stuff like that?
I think Budget Go Where?
Yeah, Budget Go Where.
Budget Go Where is a very forced attempt. If you say you want to save money, sometimes the easiest thing could be just don't order so many meat dishes in your cai fan. So it always comes back to what can the hawkers do? What can the hawkers offer if you need a cheap meal? Why don't you look at yourself? Maybe don't drink so much coffee. Cut it down to once or twice a week. Don't eat so many meat veggies. We all know it's the meat and the egg that is the steamed egg that is laxed with minced pork. That is the expensive cai fan dish. So for me, it comes down to sometimes it's a two-way thing.
Sure.
Yeah, if the government can tell you all you want, but you yourself must be able to make those choices for yourself. You cannot say you want to save money and then you go and every day buy $8 latte. And then lament $1.90 for a kopi si kosong is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also kind of reinforces that whole hawker center needs to be cheap. Hawker food needs to be cheap thing. But okay, I mean, it's super interesting because this is the first time I'm hearing from an actual hawker who is talking about the business side of things. But where does AI sit in your operations? Like now, I recently had a robot cooked Hokkien mee at Queenstown, and I shared my news about it, my thoughts about it. I wasn't that impressed, right? But for you, are there thoughts of maybe using technology like that, to whether it's brew your coffee.
I mean, there's a Nanyang Kopi robot or something.
Already have.
Yeah.
But did you also see it going haywire, splashing hot coffee? Luckily, there was no other human inside because it could have caused some serious first-degree burns.
But for you as a business owner that that wants to have the balance between work and life and all that, do you plan to use any of these in your future?
And I think that's what. Again, I keep coming back to relationship. That sometimes certain jobs cannot be replaced by robots. For example, at my stalls, we use, I guess you could call it AI. We use a point of sale system. And once we take your order, it's kind of typed in through the iPad. We take your money, and then that information gets sent to a kitchen display system. Maybe to the fast food restaurants, to the big companies, to the chains, it's very common. It's like you must have. But to a hawker stall, that small, 5 by 5 meters, it could be like new, but it has helped operations. It has helped us to kind of shorten waiting time and, kind of ease up on manpower, make sure that we are the ones making the kopi instead of just waiting for you to decide whether you want sugar in your kopi o kosong or not. So that for us is AI as a stepping stone. I won't rule out, a machine coffee, but the machine's not going to ask you how's your day or did you get that promotion you were talking about yesterday. So that's what hawker culture is.
When you go see the Tesla robots, what if there's a Tesla robot with your face on it that is asking about the promotion and stuff like that?
It would not because, it's not going to swear the same way I do, or it's not going to kind of make jokes about your boss.
Yeah.
So it's interesting also that your approach is, you have 3 stalls now. When you talk about the viability of your business, where do you see it growing? Is it, okay, we want to grow number of stalls, or once you reach a point, like what you said, are you in it to become a $1 billion company? Probably not, I'm assuming. So how do you think about the future sustainability or growing Coffee Break?
I think you need to put into context, right? So we have three of us, me, my brother. So 2 of us are married. My sister is single and available. And then we have our staff to care for.
Yeah.
And so in the end, we are not just hawkers. We are like a little small company already. And what we want to do is to make sure our customers first, they get their coffee every day. Like we say, we will give them. And then we got our staff to think about that they have a job. They have money to pay for their own families and their own bills. And then as personal goals, I guess, starting a family. Do I want to make a lot of money? I'm lucky my partner, my husband, has his own steady job and all, for me to pursue being a hawker, being a mother. And so that is where you decide whether it is viable for you or not. As long as Coffee Break or at my store, these hawker stalls, they are able to take care of everybody's needs, then I'm a very successful company. I feel. So it's what you want. No?
And the people you hire, you mentioned that you hire a lot of young people.
We do.
Do you see a change to or like their perspectives towards hawker very different from, say, your generation or the generations in between?
Definitely. Very, very different. And when they come through our doors, they're like, oh, I never knew hawker centers. I never knew hawker centers is so cheap. And then I'm like, huh? Okay. Or I never knew you could like pay now in a hawker center. I actually don't know how to use pay now, 16-year-old tell me that. Fresh out O levels, tell me. I don't know how to use pay now. Like, huh? Okay. Or this 24-year-old we have, I don't have TikTok.
But you're saying that these young people are insulated from real life, or is it that they have a different perception of
I think
hawkers?
Both.
Okay.
Both. And it's great that they, I would say, take the plunge to join us as part-timers. Some of them are fresh out of O-levels, A-levels. Some of them are career switchers. And then they come and then they didn't realize that actually being a hawker, not that difficult. Really not that difficult. It's how you split up working, making sure you have a really work-life balance, lor. Yeah.
But do you have a good grasp on why they join? Because I mean, career switchers, I can imagine maybe they are sick of the corporate world and all. But younger folk, is it because it's becoming cooler?
Indeed. Yeah, I do think so with the social media coverage. And they'd be like, oh, it's a completely viable holiday job now. What was once like never thought of.
Yeah.
Now people are like, oh, I could try my hand at being a hawker and see what it's like, because
I guess like my time it was bartender. You want to meet people, right?
Yeah.
Bartender.
Yeah.
Maybe the new form of bartender is hawker lah.
But then the kids who join you and work, are they called baristas or what do you call them?
Tao Chu lor, Tao
Tao
Chu.
Chu.
Tao Chu.
Like head barista but in dialect.
But do you ever feel a bit like angry when you see on TikTok all these trends of people, making their own latte and all, but no one has like this kopi sock kind of thing? Like how come that hasn't caught on as a thing that has gone viral?
I think aesthetics for sure. I mean that long spout looking thing does look a little alien to a lot of people. And also I think sometimes maybe local kopi has a slight bad rap in the coffee industry. Maybe primarily because we traditionally use Robusta, and that has always been seen as a lower grade varietal as compared to its Arabica counterpart. And then of course, back in the day, our ancestors used maize, used barley, and then the snobbish people, coffee people, will be like, oh, that's tainting the coffee goodness. But that is culture. That is history. That is something that was, handed down to us. And maybe to you, it might look like an abomination, but it's what people have lived with for so long. Irish, they put Baileys in their coffee,
Do you drink any of this like artisanal coffee or
for
something?
sure.
Day-to-day?
Of course I do. I have a espresso machine at home. I spend like a few $1,000s on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I see.
But you would go out to cafes and try the coffee.
It's getting expensive, so I make at home. I make my own kopi at home as well, but maybe I used to head out to cafes all the time, but with age and the responsibility is a little different now. So it evolves, and you'll always get people making matcha, sifting, and then making the M. I'm guilty of it. Yeah, but and that's where it's great because it teaches, if it draws the public in, and then it opens them up to maybe learning about the kopi culture. Why not? Yeah. So there's never bad or like disadvantages. It's just a matter of time before they reach out and then they start like beautifying the local kopi. And even if they don't, it's fine because the local kopi is local kopi because it's like that. It is the brown nylon sock that we lovingly call a sock. Even though it really is just a sieve or a filter, in specialty coffee standards, it's a nylon filter, but we call it a sock just because of our roots. Yeah.
And like in terms of hawker culture in Singapore, I mean, when you travel to other countries and all, do you try and see whether there are hawker equivalents in any country, or have you seen any country come close to what Singapore has?
For sure. I thought I would, but no leh. The food halls in Copenhagen, nowhere near what we have in Singapore.
It's like a food court lah. Almost,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And then like a farmer's market. They call it like food hall, but it's actually really a farmer's market. And then you have like the kedais in Malaysia, in KL, our neighbours. It's very different. It's like a bigger coffee shop, but it's nothing like a hawker centre. And really, the hawker centre is
really one of
a kind. Yeah, with its placement of stalls, squeezing of people, sharing of communal tables. Yeah.
So if there was someone listening and thinking, oh shit, that maybe let me try and educate myself a bit on hawker culture, is there something you would point them to, or is it come to coffee break and you will sit down with them and school them and scold them for all their wrong perspectives?
No, actually, one easiest way would kind of be to spend a morning or an afternoon, sitting there eating your food and then just observing the aunties and uncles, observing your fellow diners and the people who come in and out of the hawker center, and then you will have your answer. Because in noticing these things for yourself, you better educate, because you never like someone telling you all this, schooling you.
Yeah.
And the best way is to kind of just learn it for yourself and just sit at any hawker center, Heartland, CBD. Although different areas kind of cater to different demographics lah. The Heartlands, they cater to the families in the HDB neighborhoods there. And then you have Maxwell, Chinatown Complex, Amoy Street, Market Street, La Pasat. We cater to very different demographics as well. We do tourists, we also do corporate, and we do domestic tourists as well. So it's been coming increasingly, instead of cafe hopping, you hawker hop.
Oh, it's a thing now.
It is a thing, yes.
Oh,
you get a lot of young people coming to the stalls, to the hawker centers, and wondering why this queue so damn long. And then, and then it's becoming quite fashionable. And so, yeah, to answer your question, just sit down with a good cup of coffee or sugarcane juice and then just observe. Because there's so many things that can tell a story for itself. Just by sitting there and then looking at that uncle, what is he doing?
Doing his craft, or
Yeah. Or
enjoying his own coffee.
Yeah, talking to his fellow hawkers, gossiping, and then,
Just don't come off as a creep, essentially.
it's going to be hard too, but what I suggest is buying from that uncle if you're going to stare at him for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. Less creepy, so you'll be like, okay lah, he bought from me, can lah, just
So
let him
only
stare.
stare at the people you buy stuff from.
Preferably.
Yeah,
Then just have a whole tray of food lah.
Then you can just stare. You just alternate.
Couple of stall holders.
You just stare.
It's hawker hop.
Yeah.
Hawker
Hawker hopping.
right?
And if people wanted to find out more about, because you are also, we haven't spoken about it, you are on the Federation of Merchants Association of Singapore.
Yes.
And so if people wanted to find out more about what you stand for, like what Coffee Break, where could you send them to? Like Instagram or
LinkedIn
or website?
Instagram, because we still handle our own Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it's at Coffee Break.
At Coffee Break Amoy.
Amoy. Okay.
Amoy.
Yes, yeah.
I see.
So Anna, she's in charge of posting everything, but we delegate lah. So most times if people are asking about the history or like anything else, they will just come to me lah. Maybe because I speak quite strongly about what we do. As
Do you
hawkers.
write it down on any platforms or anything? Like,
no leh, I don't
don't?
leh. We
Oh,
tried.
really?
Oh, you tried? Where? How?
We had a blog like 6 trillion years ago,
okay.
but I'm a terrible writer. Jack's amazing. So then he writes, I edit, but then he always sounds like his head is in the clouds. So then we gave up on that.
But you haven't tried like strapping a GoPro and showing the POV of making kopi?
No, I got no time.
Because that I see that quite often for cafe people, for Subway, sandwich artists, and it's actually quite nice to watch. Like you just see their hands moving this and doing, and like, oh, you're like, it's one of those like slow content kind of thing. Watching people just do their craft. No voiceover, no nothing.
I have a TikTok. Sometimes I post, but I don't post. We have Instagram. We do stories. We try to introduce everything. It's run by Anna lah. She's very homely stuff. So she does all that.
Oh.
No lah, don't have lah.
Yeah,
Listen to.
I mean, I'll be so happy. That's also one thing. Yeah. To see like a kopi trend on like make home kopi or something trend viral globally on TikTok. That would be fucking epic.
It would. It really would.
Yeah, it'd be epic.
It probably won't be us because we're just busy trying to serve people their kopis. Yeah. And if someone does it, amazing.
Yeah.
Let them.
Hopefully we start the hawker hopping thing.
Hawker hopping.
I think that's
it is
quite
a
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
Maybe our next Yalabat live at a hawker center.
Over a cup of kopi.
Over a cup of kopi. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for. I mean, this really went a different direction from what I was expecting, which is great.
Great.
Yeah.
And now we always end off every episode with our one Shiok Thing segment.
Yeah.
You can go last. Like both of us will go first, so you can change your answer if you have any. any concerns.
Yeah.
Terence, do you have your one Shiok Thing?
Yeah, it's just recently, I'm not sure if you know the Notre Dame Cathedral in France. They reopened it after the fire that caused a lot of damage. I think they restored it and everything. I think there was a ceremony to reopen it not too long ago, like maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, and they had Yo-Yo Ma. No, I mean Donald Trump was there, but they had Yo-Yo Ma, actually performing, the cellist performing at the reopening of Notre Dame.
Oh, is it?
So I remember during COVID there was this period where all these musicians would sing in like empty streets or in like cathedrals, empty cathedrals and all that. And there was just something very beautiful and quite haunting about it. And now that COVID is over, like we don't get it anymore, right? It's all big concerts and all that. But this one was quite nice again because it was really just him in Notre Dame playing. I don't know whether it was to a very big audience or even an audience, but it's really just sitting in the halls of Notre Dame and just playing his cello. And then you hear the echoes and everything.
I thought the biggest news was Donald Trump was there.
He was there, but maybe I think Prince William also was there and everything. Yeah, so that was it. But there's something.
When did that happen?
3 weeks ago. Yeah,
because it rang for the first time since the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Mine is a lot less cultured. It is this subreddit. Are you on Reddit?
Yes.
Yeah, there's this Reddit subreddit that I just came across. It's called reddit.com/watch people die inside. So it's not people actually dying, but it's just someone, who takes this really like intricate way of installing this panel of glass in their bathroom and then suddenly it cracks and then you just see their face like dying inside. It's
videos.
It's videos, okay. And it's damn funny. I mean, it's nothing bad happening to them like fatally or something. But I think everybody has been there, where you do something. Like for me, it would be like, I remember once or twice edit so much on the computer, forget to save. And then you're like, then the blue screen of death comes up. Then I'm like, oh fuck. I'm sure you also have had.
Is it still blue?
No, depends which desktop you use. If you use Windows, it's still blue. Yeah. And for a while I was using Windows until I was like, fuck the shit, and I went back to crawling back to Apple. But yeah, it's just one of those things that maybe you're having a shitty day and all, you just go there, you feel a bit better about yourself, about your day, a bit of Schadenfreude. So it's a lot less cultured than Terence's. Mine is happiness in other people's misery.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Mine is so much more less cultured than like the two of you.
Cultured, no.
Yeah.
Less cultured.
Less cultured. So recently I've been into keyboards.
Like mechanical keyboards?
Yes. When I grew up, those kind of keyboards. But then they've taken a really big turn and my husband actually got me for Christmas this really cute buns keyboard. So it's like croissants and like baguettes, but then they are your keyboard.
Wait, is it a musical keyboard or a typing keyboard?
No, just typing.
Oh.
So the keys are adorned with like
little pretzels and then
can you
open,
press the
close.
pretzel? No.
Yeah. It's a key.
It's a key. Yeah. So then now I work on those and it gives me so much joy because they make such cute sounds.
Oh.
And I do a lot of administrative work also because, payroll and quotations and because we do events and stuff. So then like when I tap on it now, I'm a happier person.
But the letters themselves are still letters. They're not like apple, bread.
You can replace them with like 3D pretzels and like 3D baguettes. Yeah. For 30-something is not great too.
But for you, every single key is a different
not yet
pastry.
But I am slowly changing that little it's giving me so much joy.
I would have thought given you're in F&B, when you're at home, you're like, you just want to be away from F&B,
I don't No. Because I thoroughly enjoy what I do. And so this is very reminiscent. I'm behind. I'm doing administrative work so much now. I long to be back at the stall. Just
the craft lah.
Yeah, that's the easiest part. Just like taking order. Hello, kopi kosong. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the muscle memory kicks in.
Yeah, and that's the best part. It's not the
Buns keyboard, BUNS.
BUNS. Yeah.
But it's not a brand, right?
No. The brand is not Buns.
It's just a mechanical keyboard where the keys are replaced.
Did your husband have an inkling that you might like this, or was it just out of left field? He just.
Oh no! I sent him the TikTok.
Oh, because that is like a damn random gift.
Well, usually he doesn't buy anything.
Actually, it's I think younger people these days. This is a thing. Like I think in Orchard, there's a keyboard store where you can go as a date and then customize your own keyboard.
Right, yes,
you
yes.
take the keys and you decide what you want. Yeah. Then you pay a full price for the full keyboard after you've assembled it.
Yes.
You old, you don't go out enough.
Yeah.
That's why.
You can buy like these workshops for people and then it's like a birthday present, like all about the experience now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You see this guy spend too much time at home now.
Oh, sorry, I have a 4-month-old, Terrence.
Oh, everything.
Okay,
Child storage and child
mine's 11. But I got a Buds keyboard.
Buds keyboard. Wow, that's cool. That is culture.
It is culture.
It's culture.
Yeah.
It's,
you're more
Thanks,
connected.
guys.
You're more connected to young people than we are, that's for sure.
I have to be.
Yeah.
My menu needs to change.
That's true. That's true.
But that's great. I mean, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, at least now we know if there's anything about hawker stuff we don't understand, we have
I
someone
am
to
your
talk to.
man, lady, and it's not always angry stuff.
Friendly neighborhood hawker consultant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always happy to help anybody at all.
Okay.
Awesome. And I mean, for those listening, do check out Coffee Break Amoy on Instagram. And hope you guys enjoyed listening. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon.